We're getting there.
Where's Lee gone to?
My camera's not working and I haven't got time to sort it out.
Aren't we going to see you? Oh dear.
That old chestnut. I wasn't allowed to get away with that.
He's in his pyjamas.
I wish I was. That's before we go live.
No, we are live. We're live now because it's past.
Thanks.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Right. We're still missing a few, aren't we? Lee, did we manage to speak to Dot? Did she?
Yeah, I couldn't sort it out with her. Sorry.
And John?
And as he got the email the same as us, didn't he?
Yeah, everyone's had the email. So I spoke to Ray Rose yesterday about John, and I don't think he'll be logging in.
Okay.
Where's Rana got to?
We've got just Rana, isn't it? That okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, if we can start the meeting, and we'll go straight to apologies for absence. Bob Matthews is not going to be able to make it tonight for various reasons, personal reasons. So, was there any more, Lee?
Not that I've received.
No. Okay. So, can we assume Dot was a apology, or?
Yes. It's obviously difficult in this format if you're not got the IT, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. To receive declarations of interest in the agenda items from councillors, and to consider any written applications for dispensation. Is there any? No, nobody.
No.
Mr. Chairman, I've got the book with me. Leah brought it round so I could fill in when we were talking about the flooding thing
Okay.
the other week. So that book is with me, Lee.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Right.
We move on to our speakers, which is Sarah.
Evening.
Sarah, would you like to give us an update, please?
Certainly will. As I predicted last week, the work in the community is increasing each day in terms of support need and medication need. Have got a good volunteer base now. I've got 3 DBS checked volunteers and a handful of others that aren't DBS checked but are willing to go and collect shopping, etc. for people in the community. I've got probably a handful, maybe 6 or 7 people who require either a daily or bi-daily checkup to see if they're doing okay. And it's just to say that it's increasing really, and I just foresee it increasing further. Obviously, a cohort of these people have to self-isolate anyway for 12 weeks, irrelevant of any lockdown. So that I just think that need's going to increase, but it's still manageable at the moment. It's busy, and it's still encouraging that there's still a number of people within Credenhill and the surrounding parishes that have good neighbours, family, etc., that are carrying out tasks for them. So it's increasing and busy, but manageable. And I do keep in check with both Lee and Rana when I hear of any things that I can share with them in terms of funding or help, or I think I shared something yesterday in terms of farms who have workers who aren't able to carry out their duties, and kind of sharing those people, workforce across the farms, across the county, which is really pleasing to see, really.
Right. That is really good. I do think that as time goes by, some of your volunteers and so forth that you have, there may be some of them have to isolate or so forth. It might be reduced, but you're quite right. Certainly in the community, my neighbours are still offering help, so that is really good sign. Yep. Would anybody else like to speak on that, please?
Just that I've forwarded those farm volunteer details on to all of the landowners that I know of, and I know that I think Ron has forwarded them on as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Ron. You're looking fine.
Hi.
Okay. Bob Matthews on 40. Was there anything else to be said on Sarah's update? No.
Shall I say goodbye then at this point?
Sorry?
Shall I say goodbye at this point?
Yes. So, thank you very much for coming online and speaking to us. And obviously, if there is anything in the meantime that you need any assistance with, please speak to Lee and we'll do our best to try and help you.
I will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye now. Right, update from Bob Matthews. Bob Matthews, as I said, is not going to be here. He had nothing to report except for he had concerns about another item that we're going to speak about later on through the agenda. So that's that. We move into public question times. Lee, has anybody come through with any questions that they wish to be said at the meeting?
Are we just going to cover that planning application here as well, Terry?
Okay, yeah, we can.
Simon can speak and then drop out.
Okay. Simon, would you like to speak?
Sure, yeah, okay, Chair, thank you very much.
If I just say to the councillors, this is with regard to the planning application. We bring Simon through so he doesn't have to hang about with us, which is the planning application for variation of conditions, condition 6 of the planning permission. And Simon will let us know what that actually means.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I mean, essentially, Lee has obviously given me a bit of a heads up that you have concerns about the application, which I'm keen to try and address if I can. I'm not sure whether whatever I can say will help you in that regard. To give you a bit of a history, obviously, those who own Orchard House were originally in occupancy back in 2013 when this application was originally submitted with a view to providing accommodation for elderly relatives. The application actually went in to Herefordshire and was submitted on the basis of, obviously, that premise that it would provide accommodation for their elderly relative, but considered by officers right up until the point of committee and the writing of the officer's report to that committee on the basis of a standalone residential unit. It was only after that committee, essentially during it, apologies, I wasn't the applicant's agent at that point, so I don't know the exact chronology, but either at committee or thereafter, the condition to which this application relates, condition 6, was imposed. So effectively, right up until that point, officers were considering the application, yes, on the basis of catering for some elderly relatives, but in terms of the design, the scope and extent of the accommodation, it was considered on the basis of a single additional residential unit, albeit within the curtilage of Orchard House. So at that point, when it went to committee, it satisfied all tests in respect of impact on the amenity of surrounding properties, highways, design and what have you. And then after committee, condition number 6 was placed on it, which didn't relate to the age of any occupants. Rather, what it says is that the property cannot be disposed or let to any other party separate from what was then the main property, Orchard House. So essentially, it created a tie between the two. But again, it didn't generate an age-specific requirement for occupation. So essentially, anybody could occupy that house. Say, for instance, the elderly relatives never actually moved into the property. It's never been completed, but works of development have commenced, so the planning permission remains in planning terms extant and can be completed at any point now by way of the introduction of the drainage system property. Obviously, Peter and Tracy Prosser then moved away from the village a short distance into the relatives' accommodation that originally it was going to be the other way around. So essentially what we have is an implemented consent for an acceptable dwelling house, which can be occupied by anyone, but it can't be split from Orchard House in terms of letting or disposal. So essentially this application seeks to cut the tie from Orchard House so that a separate house can be completed and either let or sold separate from the main property as it stands now. So essentially all that was approved in 2013 in terms of how the building would look and be split up into 2 bedrooms, one with an ensuite, separate bathroom, lounge, kitchen, diner, 2 car parking spaces, etc. All that can be completed now. This application would just mean that property can be disposed of apart from the main house.
Okay. Andrew, would you like to say anything on that, because you was on the Parish Council and the Planning Committee at that time?
Yeah, you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I dealt with the original application, and obviously this was 7 years ago, a long time ago, and I'm surprised this is still ongoing, actually. It's still within that time frame. At the time, all I can remember is the fact that the house next door to, which is Lynn Bullock's old house.
Ron House, yeah.
Yeah, Ron House, yeah. They weren't happy with the application at the time, but okay, that's water under the bridge because it's already, planning application's already gone through, but that's all I can remember. They weren't happy about it at all. And as Simon said, it was on the basis that it was going to be for one of the relations of Tracy and Peter Prosser to live there. And that's the original reason. Now, obviously, this new planning application, it could be for anyone. Is that correct, Simon?
Well, if the house was, to go back to the beginning of the point, the timescale thing, I understand is slightly confusing, because obviously normally when you guys are involved in determining our planning application that then goes through at planning authority level, there's requirements that the development is either completed or reserved matters are submitted within a certain time period. What's happened on this one is that the first condition on the planning permission said that the works had to be implemented within a year, which is quite a tight time scale by today's standards anyway. And because the Prossers went ahead under the kind of auspices of the Building Control Department and introduced the infrastructure for the drainage system to the property that was proposed, essentially in planning now legally, that planning permission is alive, and it's alive forever, essentially. So that might explain why this permission is still kind of floating around, as it were. Yeah, I mean, to go back, sorry, what was your second point? The occupancy. Yeah, I mean, essentially, because the planning consent itself doesn't specify the age of any occupants. If the Prossers went ahead and completed this house, which obviously they can, they can put people in there of any age, because the planning permission doesn't restrict that in any way. All it says is they can't, sell on the property and separate it legally from Orchard House.
Yeah, so we were under the impression when this was originally done 7 years ago, that would be purely for the Prossers' relations, one of the parents, I believe, and that's why we originally obviously made comments about this, and obviously that's changed now. But that's for the Parish Council to discuss, I should imagine. That's for them to talk about now. But I can only tell you, as I say, it's a while ago. I can't remember all the ins and outs of it, but that was the main issue at the time. It was next door neighbour Ron House. They weren't happy about it at all. And obviously it was on the basis that it would be for one of the relations to live there, whilst the Prossers were actually in residence at the time. So I don't know. I'm not an expert on planning, but I don't know how this would affect this latest planning application.
Well, I mean, essentially, as I say, that the house can be built out now because the planning permission is still live, but it would be subject to all of the conditions that were placed in 2000. I suppose separate from the parish's concerns or kind of reason for supporting or whatever the position was back in 2013 in respect of the elderly relative. Obviously, the planners then had concerns about the granting of a consent in a rural settlement, remote potentially from the village centre as was. And in fact, the restrictive condition to which this current application relates was actually refers to that kind of protection of the rural area kind of policy that was then in place. I think it was policy H7. You see, even back then in 2013, 5-year supply question was kind of looming large and was a consideration in making a determination on such applications. So I think a local planning authority level, that rural areas policy was a consideration, and the balance in terms of whether or not the location was sustainable and supportable in terms of protecting the rural area. So that actually kind of is referred to in the decision notice in relation to the condition subject to this application, more than the kind of age or occupation of any potential residents in that dwelling.
Okay, so just one other thing. Obviously, since that time, 7 years ago, you put an application for 69 other houses behind there. How will that affect this?
In terms of what, sorry?
I mean, obviously, 7 years ago, there wasn't any application or any idea that they were going to build 69 houses immediately behind there. So how would that have any effect on this at all? Or, you know?
No, none at all.
Okay.
I mean, the application for 69 houses that obviously went through towards the end of last year. Again, sorry to be planning babble at you, but the red line for the 69 unit scheme actually excluded Orchard House and its garden area, purely because obviously, with the best will in the world, the applicants wanted to keep that as a separate hereditament away from the planning application on those fields to the rear. So this application doesn't affect that in any way materially.
Okay, Terry, I'm fine with it.
Okay, I'm just concerned about the neighbours, because we don't seem to have any way of contacting them to let them know this is going on. Obviously, Parish Council are not putting any notices out, etc. So I don't know how we can let them know. Lee, do we still have their address?
No, but we could look it up, couldn't we? We could.
Okay.
Yeah. That was my only concern, was in terms of perhaps either if the agent or developers or whoever could write to them and just let them know it's happening, given that the normal situation of a notice being put up on the outside the property would normally happen, and that's not going to happen.
Lee, I can actually call in tomorrow if you like, just to make sure that make them aware that this is happening. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm a bit concerned about that. With if you go to knock doors, etc., they've got small children and so forth. They might not be, or young children. They might not be happy with you knocking or standing back from their door.
Well, I keep it 2 meters from them, but or should we not just put a letter through the door? Or I don't know. As Lee said, I spoke to Lee about this before. They should be. Maybe they are aware. They're not bothered about it, but I think, as you said, they're not. The council are not sending out any
notifications.
No, and maybe we should just. They seem to be doing that. So whether that's by means of a letter through the post box or knocking on the door, I don't mind either way.
No. Simon, has the length of time been extended? Have you been informed that it's going to be extended?
To be honest with you, Terry, I had a letter right at the beginning. Obviously, current circumstances, saying that they were going to do their best, but the statutory period was going to be, I think, the first week in May or thereabouts. But obviously, a bit of latitude would be appreciated given current circumstances. And obviously, we're not going to hold anyone that deadline, given what's going on in the wider world at the moment. There's much, far more important things to worry about.
It's just that I thought I'd read that it was going to be extended, but I can't remember where, to be honest. I think those neighbours should be informed that this is going on. We will do our utmost. Andrew, I don't know whether it's a good idea or not. Has anybody else got an opinion on that?
Terry, I can put the standard letter through those doors. There's only 4 or 5 houses in that vicinity. If that's
okay, if you're happy to do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Has anybody else got anything to say on the on what Simon's had to say and Andrew's brief on what happened 7 years ago? Yeah.
Chairman, I'm just looking at the planning website now, and comments are in by 19th of April.
Okay.
So that's this weekend. So
but I believe there is some extension on that. We'd have to check on that.
It's not showing termination date. Determination date is the 4th of May.
Okay.
Consultation ends on the 19th of April.
Okay.
Interesting, Chair. In respect of Ron House, the original committee report on this application, the officer actually deals with Ron House quite specifically, because it kind of comments that Ron House has just had a large garage with, I think, accommodation over built very close to the boundary of the Orchard House garden, pretty much across the fence from where this building currently sits. And that because of that, it's felt that given the scale of what had just been put up within the curtilage of Ron House, there couldn't be an impact on the amenity of those residents. But obviously, you guys have got to be happy that everyone is getting a fair crack of the whip. So I don't know if
the thing is when we was doing our walkabout with regard to your 69 houses, we did visit this lady, and she was most upset still about the garage being converted into a residence, and felt that something like this, what is proposed now, was going to happen. So this is why I feel it's important that we let them know. My thoughts on it, having dealt with planning for some time and with other councils, I feel that if you want to change the planning conditions to a residency, it's not that planning permission, even though it still stands, is being changed to make it an ordinary residence. And in my view, perhaps planners might not agree, or they might agree with me, is that it should be a new planning application, even though there may be pipe work, etc., put in that can easily be changed. So my view is that a new planning application would be the preferred, so then everybody can have a good airing on it. But it will go back to the planners, and they will make their decision on it. So has anybody else got anything to say on what I just said?
That would be my preferable option, but it's
okay.
Again, I'm not a planning expert.
So
how the system works here, but
so would I be right in saying that if we sent it back to the planners, say that we consider that the present planning application, or the one that's already been passed, should either stand, or if it's going to be made into a new residency, it should be a new planning application. Is everybody, would everybody be happy with that? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Paul?
Yeah.
Paul, Plod?
Yeah, I can see the point.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, so if we send a letter then, Lee, with our comments, can I have a proposer and a seconder for that, please?
I'll propose.
I'll second.
Okay, Paul Warrington, second. Thank you. Okay, Simon, that will go back to the planners, but probably they will have a different opinion to us, and we'll see how it goes from there.
Okay, Terry, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for your
Thank
time,
you.
Simon.
No problem at all.
Yes, thank you for coming and speaking to us.
No problem at all. Stay safe.
And
Cheers.
okay, we now move on. Public question time. Lee, is there anything from public questions?
No. Got a
Okay.
few watching on YouTube at the moment.
Okay.
Just if anybody is watching on YouTube or through Facebook, through the link on there, just if you have any questions for the Parish Council, please put them up, and we will do our best to answer them during the meeting. Thanks, Terry.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, if we can move on then from there. Minutes of the last meeting, which was the 18th of March. Everybody should have had a copy come through on the emails. Hopefully you've all had a chance to read it. And could I ask if there's any questions, or can I sign it as a true record?
Yes.
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 Right, so proposer, Martin,
Yes.
seconder, Plod. Okay, I'm signing. Okay, right. We move on to the financial report. If we can cover this by 6162, 6364 and 65. Lee.
Okay, so our closing balances totaled 60,336.30. Would everyone like me to share the financial information on their screens, or do you want me to? You've got your copies.
Share it,
I've got
please.
mine.
Share it. I heard. Yeah.
Everybody got copies?
Yeah.
Hello, he's gone.
There we go. There they are.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so £60,336.30 was the closing balance of all the bank accounts. During the month, we received the 2 lots of rent because the bank statement ran to the 1st of April. I don't understand why Shelley's paid that second rent, to be honest. Because I did send the email following our discussion about rent to her to say not to pay that, so I'll follow that up. CCN advertising £85 and the £1 annual rent off the social club received. During the month, all of the cheques went out apart from Craig's last month and HMRC's 26p, which have now cleared. Normal bills went out of the account. Electricity for the changing rooms, £24.61. The electricity for the car park, the trade waste for the next quarter, and the Nest pension from last month. I just scroll down to payments to authorise this time. So we've had the annual inspection of Roman Park. That's £172.80. The first half of payment to Berry is in relation to the designs for the Roman Park. That's 914.86. That's within budget, and it's got VAT included there as well, so we'll claim that back. David Gardner has invoiced us for the tree survey, which we will discuss later on the agenda. We've got my expenses for the period, my wages, 633.60. HMRC PAYE, £8.28. Craig Powell, obviously, he finished the last week of March, so it's no longer doing the litter picking for us until this period's over. It's £327. During the COVID-19 meetings, if you remember, we agreed that we would fund the lunches for the vulnerable, which are being delivered by Dixie's. That cheque is made payable to St Martin's Church, so all of the treasury is being managed there. And Ron has spoke to Reverend Dan about that. So that's £128, and I believe a few more meals will be going out. So that's I think we're on 9 a day at the moment. In addition to that, we need to move some funds from NatWest to Lloyd's. So I've just created a cheque there from NatWest for £3,000 to cover the expenses for the month. I've done the VAT reclaim during the period, so there's no debtors. Nobody owes us any money apart from HMRC, which is a VAT reclaim for £1,835.84. We've got the usual few bits and bobs on creditors outstanding that aren't due yet for 1&1 Internet, which is the website hosting. The Welsh Water have billed us for the last 6 months, which is £20 for the changing rooms. British Gas, electricity for the car park and changing rooms, those will be due out this month, totaling £69.67 plus £4.80, so that's £74.47. Liabilities, we're still holding on to the DFIB fund, the Nest pension, which is going out the next few days for £182.16. The nursery deposit is still obviously being held on to, youth club funds, and the road safety fund, which we'll be talking about. We've got 38,863.09 there available, and we'll be talking about bus pulling options shortly. The VAT account now is just at £30, and obviously that will build up as we move forward. And the defibrillator fund, the information there hasn't changed since last period. So that's the first 3 items. Draft accounts. Let me just open those for you. There's still some transactions to be recorded because I haven't had the bank statements yet for the first few days of April, so it won't change by a great deal. But income for the year, I won't go through every item because we go through the items each month anyway, and this is just a consolidation of them. And I'll give you some time till next meeting to have a look at the accounts, and if you've got any questions, just drop them through to me. So the income for the year was £39,082.20. That's up slightly on last year, and you can see that there's the main thing there is the precept that was put up during that year. This is essentially wages cost, £10,269.03 for the year. We then have a list of all of the expenses. You can see here it shows a comparison to the previous year. So you can see, for example, on the grass cutting where we saved 14% because we did the procurement exercise on that. The litter picking, there's a slight increase on that because Craig's been doing a few more hours. Weed control saving of 39%. So what does that mean overall when you go through all of the costs? The total spend for the year, total operating costs, 38,000. So during the year we spent £9,800 more than we started, that we got in, and that's because we've spent some of the reserves that were available. I'll just show you what the changes on the reserves are for the year. So reserves at the end of the year, you can see our bank balances there. The amount owing to us by HMRC, which I've just gone through on the month's finances anyway. So our total assets are 61,000. And then essentially, this is the main bit. So at the end of the year, we've got retained reserves of £18,140. So we've got that, and obviously there's that road safety fund which is earmarked here, and then the other funds that are earmarked as per our monthly stats. You've got the DFIB fund, the rent deposit there, youth club funds, all separated out, so we can clearly see where the reserves are. So we are slightly up on what we predicted, which is good. But I'll just show you now what anyone got any questions on the balance sheet or the profit and loss for the year? No? I'm just going to go through quickly the impact of COVID-19 on the budget for this year. Which I'm sorry, I sent out the spreadsheet and I believe a few of you couldn't open. I meant to send out the PDF.
Yeah.
Oh, that probably happened to you as well, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. I'll open the spreadsheet. It's the PDF that was duff. So obviously during the COVID-19 meetings, we've agreed to put aside 2,500. That's not the one I wanted, sorry. Okay, so this is our budget for the year that we prepared. And obviously COVID-19 is going to have an impact both on costs and on income. So for example, it's most likely that there's going to be 2 DCNs not printed. So we'll make a saving there of £792. Obviously Craig isn't litter picking at the moment for us, so again there's probably going to be 2 or 3 months there of savings where we won't be spending money that we normally would be. So that comes out that we're going to save 2,200 roughly on operating costs. However, of course, there's a possibility that we're going to have to forfeit some of the rent on the nursery for that period as well, which I've just approximated at 2,000 at the moment. The CCN adverts, if we don't print the CCN, obviously we need to honour the number of CCNs that the advertisers have paid for, so we'll need to extend there, so that's £200. And of course the changing rooms aren't going to be in use for the remainder of this season and possibly some of the start of next season, dependent on. So you can clearly see the longer COVID-19 goes on, the costs tend to outweigh the income. So we said we'd want to put away 2,500, so that's going to have to come from one of the projects that we originally earmarked for doing the year. So, you know, we could decide, for example, not to register the land for the Roman Park and the resource centre there, which was £1,500 that we put aside. We could decide to reduce the grant provision, or we could decide to reduce our repairs and maintenance budget, or embankment repairs that we've budgeted for. So, you know, we're okay financially, but I think what we're going to be in a situation, depending on how long this goes on for, it will mean that we can't do everything that we wanted to do and decided to do during our budgeting process, and we just need to monitor how we do that. Obviously, at the moment, we've only spent £200 on meals from the COVID fund, the 2,500. So, yeah, so we're in a good position at the moment. Okay, Terry?
Okay, that's great. Comments, please. Who would like to say anything first?
Could I just ask, Terry?
Yes.
Is there not a saving because we're not paying Craig?
Yeah, I said that, Martin.
Oh, you've allowed for that, have you?
Yes, the saving on Craig will essentially offset itself with the rent we won't get from the nursery if that.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
One question, Mr. Chair. With regards to the nursery, did you say at the last week's meeting she's been in receipt of a £10,000 grant for the nursery?
They've not received it yet, but they have made the application, is my understanding.
Oh, right. Okay. They're entitled to that, are they? I mean, obviously, they don't pay any rates on that building, do they? But
I believe that
with a £10,000 grant.
Yes, I believe that they're entitled to it. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So then, I guess it's a decision as to whether the council then still wants the rent to be collected.
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's what that grant is for. It's to pay things like rent. Obviously, if she wasn't going to get that, then obviously I would look favourably on not charging her or anything. But that's a substantial sum for her to receive. As are the social club, I believe, as well, aren't they? They get a £10,000 grant as well.
Yes, and the community hall.
Yeah.
The working men's club as well, near the school there.
Okay.
The other nursery, obviously, near the school there, will get that. Community hall. And I'm asking if we are entitled to it, because obviously we run the changing rooms on Roman Park as well. So I need to find out if that's something we'll be entitled to, because obviously we maintain that field there.
Is that subject to rates at all, the changing room?
No.
I don't know if you will then, but I think it's only on properties which have a rateable value you can apply for the grant. I might be wrong, but so I'll leave it with you.
Could I ask another question, Joe? Terry, could I ask another question?
Yes, please go ahead.
We might as well cover it now rather than under 8.11. Regarding these meals that are being provided,
yes,
I think it's a wonderful scheme. Maybe I went to sleep during one of the meetings. Could I ask who is sort of authorising their sort of eligibility? Is Sarah involved in this, or how do people get on the list? Because it could be, as long as a piece of string for us if we're going to finance it.
Rana, do you know how that's done?
Every time I ring instead of Terry, I
know how what's done.
But when these names are referred to the Dixie's food things that he's doing, are they tested? Are their eligibility tested?
I'm really sorry. I don't know how it's all operated. I've only spoken to Anne, and she just said that it comes under the umbrella of the church, and so all the finances are sort of going through their books. That's
but who decides whether a person is eligible?
I have no idea.
Could we ask Sarah that question, please? Because I think, it's a very nice idea, and I'm not against it one bit. But I've lost the thread of how people get on this list, and nobody else seems to know either.
You have to get in touch with Dix's essentially, and I've referred somebody, and I believe Rana, you've got somebody who is definitely eligible that you've referred as well.
Yeah.
I get sent a list of the addresses. I can't say what they are because of GDPR, but having looked at them, I think that they are okay, and I was assured by the lady that looks after our area that there is quite a rigorous check that goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that, but even so, that doesn't actually answer the question as to who these people are authorising it. I'm sure it's wonderful, and don't get me wrong, but I think it somehow ought to come either through the GP or through the Sarah or whoever, that they become eligible in the same way as people become eligible for supermarket deliveries.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit different to supermarket deliveries, and if we're going to wait for GPs to say whether it's okay, I think we have to take it on face value from people in the village who are referring these people that they are eligible. But I see where you're coming from, Martin.
Well, could we ask the question of Dixie's or St Martin's?
Yes, of course.
How these, because if we're financing this, I think we're entitled to know what the criteria are.
Yeah.
The other thing is that they said that there would be a limit as to what they could provide on a daily basis, and that was 15 meals. So obviously, if it's only 15, we need to make sure that it is the right 15.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll do a check on that, Martin.
Yeah. I just want to know whether I was eligible, you see, really.
I think we'd have to think about that.
Moving on.
Right, moving on. Can I have a proposer then, please, and a seconder that we accept the financial report and all in appendix in the appendix 6162, 6364, and the appendix of the financial report. Can I have a proposer then, please? Thank you, Dina, and Paul Beach.
W.
That's the one.
Terry, the only other thing to cover there is that currently I'm raising cheques. I spoke to you earlier about the possibility of adding me to the bank on a temporary basis so that we can make the payments online.
Has anybody got objections to us adding Paul online to raise the payments? Lee, sorry. It would have to be agreed by a second party, I myself and various other people that are authorised to do this online. Can we add Lee to simplify the payments so we don't have to go around and knock people's doors for cheques to be signed? I don't want him on my door wanting cheques to be signed. So,
cheers, Terry.
Yes, I would approve that.
Can I have a proposer then, please, and a seconder that we allow that to happen until thank you, Paul and Dina, that we allow Lee to do this whilst we have this period that we're in lockdown and beyond. Any objections to that, please?
No, I propose it.
Sorry?
I propose it.
Okay. And Paul Beachy is seconder. Okay, Lee?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, we move on quickly. Okay, we've already agreed that we send a letter to Parish Council with our deliberation on planning P200826, which is the application for variation of condition 6 of the planning permission. I don't think there's anything further to say on that, or is there? No. Okay. Application for approval for reserved conditions. I don't think there's anything further to. That's that one, Lee.
No comments on that one, is there?
No comments.
No, they're not taking comments on that one. That's the one down Tree Cottage, down the back there.
Okay, yeah. Long Farm, variation of condition 2 of the approved plans, change of appearance, and I see that that's been refused.
Yes, the eaves on the new drawings were 2 foot higher than the eaves on the previous drawings.
Okay.
And there was a balcony added in addition to the so it increased the footprint. They were the main 2 reasons that was objected to.
Okay. Land south of the A480. This is the 100 houses. There's nothing been decided on that at all yet. So that's we'll have to discuss that at another time. Any further comments on planning, please, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you. Okay, we move on to receive reports from the working groups. The finances, we've already had a complete brief by Lee on that. Is there anything further to say on that?
No.
There
is. Sorry. We normally do the annual return, and we're normally in the process of producing the paperwork for that now and submitting it. But we've received an email from the auditor, the external auditor, saying that at the moment it's delayed, and so nothing will happen until there's been an update.
Okay.
So we've got longer than normal.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Community hall. There's nothing on the community hall. As Lee's already mentioned, they've been told to apply for grants, etc., and hopefully they've done so. Footpaths. Paul. Plod. Footpaths. Could you turn your mic on? We can hear you then.
Thought I just did. Nothing's been reported in to me, and the footpaths I've walked, which are few, look okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody got any comments for paths? Shops and businesses. This is still the normal problem with the car park, but the shop, I think, are doing their best during this difficult period. So any further comments on that, please, ladies and gentlemen?
I thought there was something about the last meeting, something about the potholes being filled.
I was just going to say the pothole.
Well, I just said that the pothole is still there. It's been measured. There's nobody disappeared down it yet. I don't know the answer to that. We can go and ask them again, but all you get from the shop is, yes, it's all in hand, it's been measured, and it will be done. Perhaps it's not one of these things that they consider to be important at the moment.
No.
Every time Corrie goes out to the shop, because I'm not allowed to go with her, every time she goes out to the shop, I tell her to take her car, which I feel is better for her, because so she doesn't meet other people. And the last words I say to her as she leaves the house, mind that pothole. And so, yes, it's a problem to everybody, isn't it, really?
That's it.
War Memorial, Gina.
Nothing.
Nothing?
I'm afraid I haven't been near it. Get out.
Flood alleviation scheme. I think there's very little to say on that one, is there, Lee?
No.
Schools. Rana, have you heard anything from the school? We can't hear you, Rana. Thank you.
I think they are back at school. I think they started yesterday. That's all I know.
The few have gone back, have they?
Yeah. Sorry, the key workers' children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything? Did you, Paul Beachy? Did you want to say something on that?
Well, I was just going to disagree and say I didn't think they were back. I certainly haven't seen any in the playground. The only ones I have seen are the toddlers from the nursery just up the lane a bit. But from what I can tell from the view of my back garden, then they're not. But like you say, perhaps they're all being confined inside somewhere and segregated. I don't know.
On the last day of their term, I was in touch with them, and they told me they were coming back on the 14th. And when I walked past today, the school doors were open, so I guess they were in. So, the cleaners were in something.
I wonder how many are there then. Perhaps there's not many enough there to make a noise. Maybe.
Yeah. Don't know.
Okay. Well, we hope they're all safe. Yeah. Roman Park. Comments on Roman Park, Jenny, Beck? No. Why have you got a cat sitting on your shoulder? Okay, Roman Park. Social Club, Paul Warrington.
Nothing to report.
Closed.
Yeah.
Asset management, nothing to report on that. Right. COVID-19 emergency. Lee.
Yeah, so I suppose the only update is I've produced a check for the meals. I've got a list of the people that are getting the meals, and obviously I've give you an update on the budget from that point of view. We've got our link officer Sarah, who's clearly linking volunteers with people that need help. I don't think there's much else to say other than, do you want to continue to have weekly meetings to review this, or do you want to extend it to fortnightly yet? What's your thoughts?
Anybody?
I think fortnightly might be better at the moment.
Yes, I think fortnightly. Yeah.
Everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
No objections?
No.
We'll go fortnightly then, Lee.
Okay, so the week after next then, shall we make the next one?
Yeah. Obviously, if there's anything that comes in the meantime that needs us to make a decision, then we will give it a call, send you an email for a meeting, okay? But I think fortnightly is fine now. I think we've got it well covered at the moment. Right, if we can move on to masses rising since last meeting. Agree the section 106 priorities for Credon Hill following the survey result. Did you all receive the email?
Yeah.
With the survey results, etc. Did you all receive them? Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody who didn't receive them? No. Okay. Is there any comments on those results? Lee, have you got something to say about it all?
Sure. I'll just share the screen and we can just quickly go through it.
Okay.
Because obviously there's people watching that won't have seen what we're talking about. Can everyone see the screen?
No.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, so we had 84 responses. We had 84 responses, although it says 83 there, because not everybody answered all of the questions. Essentially, the feeling about the work that had gone on the A480 there to widen the footpath generally was in support, but perhaps I think some people think it could have been it was too expensive was a main feature of the comments back, although many people said that it was required for child safety and safety reasons, improving access to the village and so on. There was some comments about the I guess the effectiveness of what they've done there, because there's a section that isn't fully widened. So what I did was I created a weighted average score, which comes out at 1.3. So that would put it in somewhere in between neither support or oppose and somewhat support. So it's moderately supported, just because of the cost, I guess, and effectiveness of what was done there. We then asked, well, if we get any more opportunities to spend money in the community, where would we like to see that money spent? So all of the amenities were listed initially, and you can see from the ranking there that the majority of people wanted the Roman Park improving, and then followed by the community hall, and then the park woods over and above the other areas, which was a surprise. Obviously that's not under our control, but we can try and work with the Woodland Trust to influence improvements there. Obviously I'll share this on the website, but there's a mixture of some of the main responses there coming back. One of the things is lack of investment over many years means that the buildings and assets are in great need of improvement, which is obviously why we've had the surveys done and started looking at getting plans and grants to start improving the amenities. Then the other area we looked at, which is where potentially we can get funding from the two developments that have been proposed, is about improving the infrastructure in the community and areas that we previously identified as. And it doesn't surprise most of you, I guess, that widening the footpath there on Station Road near the hill and near the school are the top two items from the results. Then improvements to the school as well, that's close to everybody's hearts. And then coming in at fourth is the improvements to the bus stop, which we've got plans for anyway, which we'll discuss shortly. Extending the cycle path, so obviously that's something that's been earmarked on the 100 housing development there, for them to do that as part of that development if it goes ahead. So and then obviously looking at the bottom of the list is village gateway features. Now that's something that was listed on the 69 houses for Orchard House. So we might want to look at the section 106 monies that's available from Orchard House, and maybe say, well, actually the gateway features don't appear to be our priority based on feedback in the community, and we might want to look at improving the footpaths at the top of the village. And then there's a selection of the responses there and the reasons why people gave the feedback they gave. I think it was really useful survey to do. It will certainly help us focus on what the community want when we do get money available to us through the 106 monies, and it'll help direct Hereford Council through Bob about what we want to do in the community. Obviously, if we had a neighbourhood development plan done by a consultant, this would have been done as part of that. But as we have agreed not to go ahead with a neighbourhood development plan and sit within the core strategy of Hereford Council, then it's important for us to conduct these type of exercises and establish what the community wants. Any comments on the feedback we've received? Okay, Terry?
Okay. So if everybody's happy with that, then we'll forward our findings to the council and Bob for them to make the final decision, because unfortunately it's not us that makes the final decision. Okay. Review horse chestnut tree report.
Okay, did everybody get the report?
Yeah.
So essentially it says that we need to do some pruning maintenance to the tree, and although there is some rotting areas and so on, the tree's probably got a life of about 20 years left in it, which the guy said to me that it's one of them difficult decisions, because 20 years isn't 2 or 3 years, so it's a difficult decision as to whether it's not you don't want to remove the tree at the moment, because 20 years is a fair time, but it will be in probably 15 years time we're going to want to start looking at removing the tree from a health and safety point of view. What's everyone else's thoughts on that?
Have we got a cost on the remedial work, Lee?
No, I'm waiting for quotes, but obviously it's difficult to get them at the moment.
I don't think we can move on until we have a cost on the remedial work.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you can put it this way. We've seen the report. As Lee said, it's very difficult to get the estimates through at the moment, because it's not classed as essential work. So once we move into normal times, we will ensure that that's put back on the agenda, and hopefully we will have had some estimates by then. Is everybody happy with that? Or
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Lee?
Mr. Chairman, just one question. You mentioned at the last meeting about the sapling that Mr. Batchelor left for the village. Have you made a decision what we're going to do about that yet?
We have not made a decision because Gordon passed away. We did not feel that it was appropriate to approach the family at this time, or we're not able to anyway.
Terry, I think that I certainly can approach them. They were very keen at the funeral that tree should be planted before it came into. It must be. It's a new one now, I should think.
Sorry.
I think there shouldn't be a problem talking to the family. Certainly the girls. Marion's not very well at the moment, but certainly I can talk to the girls about it. The tree, I know what the tree is. It's outside. It's easy to get at. It's in a pot, and it just wants to be loaded into a truck or something and taken down the road.
Okay.
It's ready to go.
So
very keen.
That's the only reason why I mentioned it. I remember they were keen for us to act upon this sooner rather than later. I know Rana's got good contacts with them.
I agree with that.
Sorry, I didn't hear that because you were broken. That's people passing through. What was it you said, Andrew? Sorry to ask.
Sorry, Chloe. Yeah, I'm just reiterating what Rana said. Rana's got good contacts with the family, and if you remember, the family were very keen on getting this sorted. I know it's not going to be put in the place that he originally wanted, but as a parish council, I'm sure we can decide on a more appropriate place to put the tree.
Yeah. So, Rana, are you happy to approach the family and say, yes, we would like the tree?
Yeah, I mean, they know we do want it. I already told them that.
Yes.
And when I said that it was the Roman Park that we were thinking, they were quite pleased with that, because they felt that was, a place where the children could enjoy it and so on.
Okay.
Even if we have, we do put it on Roman Park, some sort of a plaque that we can donate to, donated by Mr. Batchelor, and I think the family would be happy about that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, unfortunately, there's no chance of us moving it just at the moment. Rana, if you could say to them that we would dearly love to have the tree, and we will put it on Roman Park. When we're able, we will find a proper space for it to go, and also we will instigate a plaque to go there.
Okay. Okay. So my worry for it is that there probably isn't anyone watering it, and it's in a pot.
Right.
Because Gordon would have made sure it was watered, but I don't think there's anybody there that would think about it. So it may not survive.
I don't know the answer to that.
Well, can I just suggest the guy, Henry, that lives at number 2 Hillside View, he was very good friends with Gordon, and Rana, if you're passing by, have a word with Henry. I'm sure he would be more than happy to keep it watered.
Yeah, but Henry, he's over. He shouldn't be really wandering around the village.
No, nobody should.
Well, I saw him last weekend up by the school with his wife. So he is actually getting about it.
I know he's not. Yes, I'm keeping my eye on him. I'm not very pleased with him because he is moving around.
The law unto himself, but yeah. But
it's Henry's 60th wedding anniversary on Saturday, by the way.
Oh, good.
So we're going to make a but that's another story. But the person who might be able to do something is Ray. You know, Ray was one of Gordon's very best friends.
Yes.
But I don't know how to get hold of Ray unless his
Ray Weston, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, he lives down by the Priory.
I know, but I don't think it makes any difference to him. He still potters up to do things in the garden, I think, for
Okay. I don't know how to get hold of him. I know him, yes. But
I will talk to the girls and see if we can find a solution.
Okay, thank you.
Can I butt in? I'm quite happy to nip up in my van and collect said tree as long as we can practice social distancing.
Sorry, Paul, can you say that again?
If it can be arranged and we can practice social distancing, I'm quite happy to hop in my van and pick up the tree to a location where it can be walked down.
The thing is that a big hole has got to be dug.
Yeah.
We've got to decide where we're going to put it.
Yeah.
So I just don't know now. I think with the present situation as it is at the moment, if we can make sure that it's watered, and then we can come to a proper decision when we're able to move about again. Do you think that would be the best idea, as long as we can make sure it's watered?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, if there is no one to water it, Terry, if Paul could pick it up and put it by his outside tap, that would be brilliant.
I could put it by my greenhouse and on the irrigation if needs be.
Yeah. That would be brilliant.
Okay.
But it is a big tree. I mean, it could be 8 foot now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anyway, it's got to be 6 foot. It's a big pot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just keeping it alive, isn't it? For a decision.
Can I ask you, Paul, then to liaise with Rana to pick up the tree? Is that all right, Rana?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Right there.
Terry, can I just raise a point?
Yes, of course.
Just going back to the tree report, the paragraph 2.2 of limitations suggests that the conclusions that have been drawn up are based on the assumption that the tree is going to be inspected annually.
Yeah.
Going forward, so we're saying it's got a 15-year, 20-year life, but they're not actually kind of. So in terms of our obligations for our health and safety and things, are we putting something into place so that this has got an annual inspection now?
We will have to. Yes. Yeah. We will have to. If we can make that, I know I keep putting things off, but it's the only way that we can function. Once we're all back, we can speak to people, because people are not speaking to us because they're I was going to say so-called, and I didn't mean that. They're isolating, and so I think, yes, we've got the report. We know that we've got to get work done on it, and we also know that we've got to keep the tree inspected for the future. So, you know, along with the work that needs to be done, if we can ask Lee to, as soon as we're back into some normality, we can then bring that up at that particular meeting. Is that all right, Paul?
Yeah, I just wanted to raise that issue in case one, it had been overlooked. We're assuming that, yeah, it's got to have some work done and that's it for 15 years. But the way I've just read it, that's not the case, and it wasn't mentioned. So I just brought that up.
Yeah.
Just on that point, I think.
Okay, everybody.
Yeah.
Right. If we can move on now to the review of the Red Hill bus stop appraisal. I couldn't find it on my laptop. I had it earlier and I've lost it. There we go.
Is that any good?
That's great. If we could see the other ones, Lee, one at a time.
Yeah, so this is the partial pull-in. So it's not quite wide enough for the whole bus. And you can see the orange bit is the pull-in. And if you look, there's another line into the road. And that is where the bus would sit. This is a full pull-in. And basically the bus can fit into that. There would be a shelter obviously off the road there as well. Oh, that's the same one. Hang on. That's just the overall area. This is the loop. So essentially the bus would have to pull in regardless as to whether it knows, because it's not going to see if anybody's waiting for the bus. So it would have to be used by the bus every single time. And the bus would go up round the loop and then pull out onto the A480 again. At the same time, they look to improve the access onto the Tillington Road and improve the access coming out of there as well. So it would be a lot wider, that road would. And then the other option was the island, so a small island, and you pull in behind the island and back out again. The crossing would stay in the same location.
Could we? Have you got the costs for each one, Lee?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find that.
Okay.
There's
no, that's not it.
There's a recommendation somewhere.
They recommended B, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. Recommended, yeah.
But B would fall into our budget, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so we've got 40,000, but obviously this report has cost us 1.5.
Can you go down to costs?
Yeah.
Keep going.
Oh, in addition to those options, there's also the advanced warning signage option, which can be used with any of them. And that would be a digital board that would be around the bend, because obviously the blind bend, if you come in from Webley direction, it would be a board that would flash up if there was a bus waiting at the bus stop, so that oncoming traffic can be made aware that there is a bus waiting. So this is the table really that shows us the options available. And I think they said
they wanted to go with B, but personally I think C is the most desirable.
Yes, I concur.
Which one is C? Is C the one with the big loop?
No. C's the full bus lay-by.
Oh, right.
The partial one, I think, is a half measure, frankly.
My concern with the partial one would be that the bus would be sitting out in the main road.
Go on. Yeah, doesn't really solve the problem.
And it's hidden around the corner.
Yeah.
So Lee, if we were to go with option C, that would be the full bus lay-by.
Yeah.
That's 46.5k. We've got 40k. You did mention that maybe Councillor Matthews might be able to get the additional funding for that. And if that's the case, obviously we can get the advance warning sign as well. Is that a possibility, do you think?
I think a combination of A and C would give the most positive result.
Yeah.
But you're right, we don't have the budget for it. But I think it's in the interest of the bus service and the wider Hereford community. So perhaps some 106 money from elsewhere could come towards this.
Yeah.
That'll be for Councillor Matthews to chase up on our behalf, I should imagine.
Well, if I can just come in, Councillor Matthews doesn't like any of the ideas.
Well, Councillor Matthews doesn't live in Creighton Hill.
Get the bus.
What does he like then?
He doesn't like any of them.
Well, what does he want us to do?
Well, he hasn't even made that clear, but I think if we make a decision that we'll go with decision C along with A, then I think it's up to him to support it, isn't it?
Mm.
Because Lee and I was talking about it today, and there's a good possibility that that might not be the overall cost, that they're only estimates.
Mm. It seems a lot for the warning signs, I must admit.
It's a, what's the name, sign saying that there's a bus there, so there's a lot of electronics in that.
Mm.
Which the conclusion right at the end there, you just scrolled up from it. I've got the pictures here, but I don't think of this document. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, option B is the partial lay-by. That's what they've come up with and said that would address the concerns raised and be the most cost-effective.
It will hide the bus for slightly longer from the speeding 44-ton quarry wagon that's around the corner.
My thoughts too.
If the bus needs to be fully off the road, or not off the road at all.
Agreed.
I do like that loop, because that would the people that come down the lane from Templeton and then try and make a left turn at the end. That adjustment with the big loop is going to make a lot of a safer manoeuvre.
The cost.
I agree, the costs and so on and so forth. But I mean, in an ideal world, that's probably the way we'd go.
Yes.
Without taking the bus off the road, the full bus lay-by is probably the lowest that the Parish Council, I would say, could agree to. I mean, yes, it's got financial implications, but if we can only have half the bus, then you can't hide the bus at all. Let it slow down traffic a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Lee, would you be able to bring up the image of option C, please?
Yeah.
Okay.
My only observation on that one is if you look at the chart here, option C, under technical compliance, there's a dash, which means there's a minor detrimental effect. I'd just like to understand from Balfour Beatty what that is.
I think, wasn't it to do with the length of the pull-in and the actual amount of space that the bus needed to turn in?
Correct, yes, wonderful.
Yeah, the back end would be sticking out, wouldn't it? Because it wouldn't have the length to get fully in.
Okay. I mean, Do we need Balfour Beatty to come and present the report so that we can ask them about the options?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that would be ideal.
So if we get Mark Hadley, the designer, to come and speak to us, because we don't feel that we have all the information available.
Yeah.
And perhaps we're not making the right interpretation of his beautiful drawings.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we can ask Mr. Matthews how much money he can find for us to complete.
And
What about a horse chestnut tree? We need a money tree.
Yeah. Okay.
Lee, is there any scope to looking into a bus shelter on the opposite side of the road as well?
The bus shelter costs about £10,000.
I was just wondering if that was something that could be of benefit, particularly to the school children, particularly the winter months. Obviously, we're going into the summer and obviously there is no school, but I'm just thinking for the future, if that's something that could be, like one of the overhang ones. Wondering if that's something that could be, throw it out there, so a later date could be considered.
Yeah, I think it could be looked at, Jenny, but looking at the narrowness of that bus stop there, I think as soon as it was up, the next sand and gravel lorry that came through would take it off. It's a difficult one, that, isn't it? Really, we need another parade, but I don't think we're going to get that.
It might also cause
just sort of mention it.
disability-wise.
No, I agree with you. But yeah, they certainly wouldn't stick something out on that over that footpath there from that wall.
I didn't realise there was enough land there to have a bus stop off the road.
There isn't really, is there?
Well, it's dangerous in the first place anyway. So anyway, we digress on that. So the plan forward is for us to ask Balfour Beatty to come and explain it all to us. And in the meantime, I'll speak to Mr. Matthews and see if he can find us some more money. Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody happy with that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need a proposal for that, Lee, or?
No, that's fine. We're not actually doing anything. So.
Okay. Okay, right. Okay. I think we've come to the end of the list.
Yeah.
Public question time. Anything, Lee?
Nothing on YouTube. I'm just waiting for Facebook to reload.
Lee, the one thing that we haven't covered, I didn't realise it wasn't under the matters arising, is the ROSPA report for Roman Park.
Yeah, sorry, we probably should have covered that under Roman Park, shouldn't we?
Yeah, you sent it out.
I think
There's 3 items that need repairs.
Yeah.
And I wondered if that's something that Craig could be tasked to do at the moment. B&Q, he can get parts or order online.
Well, we've obviously laid Craig off, so if he does any work, then he won't be entitled to his 80% as a self-employed person. So, but I can have a look at those. And
as a self-employed person, you can still be earning money. You don't have to prove that your income, you don't have to cease trading altogether. It just has to be reduced. So he could do some work for us.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I'll have a look at the items and I'll get some off.
Yeah, there's a couple of repairs and some paint work and bits and pieces, really. So they're all within Craig's ability. So you could take those, yeah. Whilst it isn't being used.
Yeah. As everybody looked through the ROSPA's report.
Yeah.
It's to be quite honest, I was quite pleased that it wasn't as bad as what I thought it could be. But there is some repairs, small repairs to do, but it certainly gives us a picture of things to come. the equipment is getting shabby. You can see by the pictures and so forth, and some of it I would consider dangerous. But there you go. So if we can discuss the ROSPA report at a later date, once we can get sorted on what we actually want for Roman Park with the survey that we've already had done, then I think we can move forward on that, can't we?
Yeah, the only high priority one was the bog, which we've obviously already agreed to refill that area. And then the other thing was the cableway. Obviously, some of the wood that's a bit older, we got a load replaced the year before last. Some of the wood is showing signs of deterioration, and their general recommendation is for us to remove that in the long term.
Yeah. And there's the Rocker Red and Rocker Surf that both just have bolts missing, and if it removes any more bolts, I suspect that could be an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I think that needs our attention sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Okay. Oh dear. Bless you, dear. Okay. Anything, Lee, on public question time?
No.
Okay. Has anybody else got it? We've covered the Roman Park. Is there anything else that anybody wanted to mention before we close the meeting?
No.
Okay.
Did Rana not want to ask for some money from the COVID fund?
Yeah, she did. Yes, if that's possible, towards the grass cutting at the church. I had a word with Martin about it earlier. We've got to do this. The grass is going to need cutting every 4 weeks, really, through the summer, in order to keep it under some sort of control. I mean, how best do we do this? That's the thing.
Have we got funds set aside for the church? I believe we have, haven't we, as part of a grant?
We haven't got funds set aside, Andrew. We've got, they can come to us for grants, but what it was suggested that we add the church into our grass cutting contract. Okay. Jenny, what's your partner going to do some?
Yeah, we went up and did it on Saturday. I volunteered and just helped for the day. I was let loose with a mower, which was scary enough. But yeah, Martin, we had a mower and going, so it was a much bigger job than either of us anticipated, because that was the first cut of the season, I suspect. So it was really quite hard going. So yeah, he's put a bill across to Rana for her to look at. So I don't know quite what you want to do going forward, because usually you would have people coming in, would you not, Rana, to do that voluntary?
Yeah, the probation service comes once a month.
Yeah.
Community payback and all the rest. Tom Fitch, and he has a group of pensioners really who've been going in and keeping it under some sort of control. Now I think Tom is now over 80, and he's written to me to say that he doesn't think he can carry on doing that after this is all over. So I won't have Tom. So really, I'm thinking now I'm going to try and.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Suggestion.
You're going to cut the grass?
No. Could we ask High Ground Maintenance for a quotation to add it on to our existing contract?
Yes. That's what we said that.
Yeah. If we could ask them for a quotation, because then the church could apply for a grant with that information.
Okay.
Which they were going to do, but because of this, the current time, we haven't been able to get together to
No.
do that.
Okay. To quickly deal with that then, Lee, if we can ask Hydro high ground how much it costs to have that done. How often did you say, Rana? Every 4 weeks?
Every 4 weeks, yeah.
That's very short time, really. I'm sure it's not every 3 or 4 weeks, but in normal times.
But it does overgrow.
You would need it done every month at least.
Yeah.
Once a month, the probation service come and do it.
Yeah.
And if they can't manage it, because the day they come it's wet, then it's completely out of control within a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Can I just say most churchyard contracts are done every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So we want it done once a month.
Who pays for it?
Yeah.
Who pays for it, Martin?
A grant from the Parish Council.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Lee, can I ask you to look into the costs for a monthly cut for the church? And we will discuss the payments later.
Yeah.
The grass cutting is responsibility of the church as far as I'm aware, but we will look into it, or I will look into it.
Just on the current one though, we did agree that the current one is because of the COVID-19 situation.
Okay.
And we've put aside £2,500 of our budget to help local organisations and people during the COVID-19 situation. So I just wondered if the Parish Council was minded to support the work we've got now.
How much is it, Bill?
Was it 180 something, I think?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we need a precise figure, really. 185, was it?
Hang on.
I haven't got it to hand now.
Don't worry, I'm sorry. Have you got it, Rana? I haven't got it.
I'm just gonna wants to flipping download. It's quicker on my phone, and I'm using my phone for this.
Can I think I ran about £185.
It's 185.
Okay, can I have a proposal and a seconder that we cover this cost from the COVID fund of £185?
I'll propose that.
Everybody, bar Jenny, is allowed to vote on that.
I'm happy to agree with that.
Bex and Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Completely.
Yeah.
And we will look into the future upkeep of the churchyard. Okay. From now onwards, we will look into it. Okay. Anything else? No. Thank you very much, everybody. For those that are watching this on Facebook and YouTube, the Parish Council still has 2 vacancies. You can see how we work, and please contact Lee if you feel that it's something that you could do. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. The meeting closed.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay safe.
You too.
Good night, all.
Bye-bye.
Oh, yeah.